morning, children. Okay, back to your next session. Today, after studying the Egyptian civilization, which was the first civilization, now we shall move on to Mesopotamian civilization. Okay. Now let us see where was it located? Where is Mesopotamia located? Okay. So let's begin with Mesopotamian civilization. Mesopotamian civilization flourished in the area that lies in a valley between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in modern Iraq. So where is it located and where did it start from? In modern Iraq. On the banks of which rivers? On the banks of river Tigris and Euphrates. Okay. So now what does Mesopotamia means? Mesopotamia means land between the rivers. The land which is located between the rivers, the name of that place is called as Mesopotamia. Okay. So Mesopotamia means the land between the rivers. This region was ruled by Sumerians, Babylonians, Hittites, Assyrians and Neo-Babylonians. Okay, these were the different people, those who ruled Mesopotamia. Now moving on to the political history. Okay, so what are the things you have to study in Mesopotamian civilization? So let's move on to political history. Sumerians were responsible for one of the first civilizations in this region. Ur, Kish and Lagash were the important cities that flourished here. Okay, which were the three important cities here? Ur, Kish and Lagash. Sumerians used cuneiform system of writing on wet clay slates. So what is it? On wet clay. Clay andre eno mannu. So what they used to do? Party men matla barita idre nodri. So somewhat in that sense, wet clay slates they used to put make mud clays using that. They used to make on clay stones, and on that they used to write. And the script which Mesopotamians used to write is known as the cuneiform script. Mesopotamians were in contact with Indians. The Akkadians ruled after Sumerians. They were conquered and destroyed by the barbarians. Later, Amorites, another Semitic tribe, ruled from Babylonia. They brought the Akkadian state under their control and established a large state. Okay. So now this was all the political history of Mesopotamia. Now let's move on to the important king of this Mesopotamia. So who was it? It was none other than Hammurabi. What was his name? Hammurabi. Hammurabi. Okay. He was Hammurabi. He is the most famous king among Babylonians. He was famous for his code of laws. His code of laws is based on ideas like an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Okay. So this is the important saying by code of law by Hammurabi. Hammurabi believed like eye for an eye. Means sometimes you call it as tit for tat. Like that. An eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Okay, this was his code of law. Babylonian rule was followed by Kassite and Hittite races who ruled for some time. Now coming on to the next king, that was Ashurbanipal. Assyrians defeated Hittites and ruled Mesopotamia. Ashurbanipal was the last great king of the Assyrian. He was a brave warrior and also a poet. He found a royal library at Nineveh. Okay. So this Mesopotamia, Egypt and all, we are not so very familiar with all these places. So it is your this that you have to remember all this. Got it? He founded a royal library where in Nineveh. And now coming to the next important part of Mesopotamia. That was during the period of Nebuchadnezzar. After Assyrians, another Semitic tribe, the Chaldeans re-established Babylonia.
Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest king among them. He created hanging gardens, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. So who was it? It was Nebuchadnezzar. 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 What did he do? He had built a hanging garden, which is famous, and it is also one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Okay. Finally, about 2500 years ago, Emperor Cyrus conquered the city of Babylonia, which resulted in the downfall of Mesopotamia. Okay. This was all about Mesopotamia. Now let us move on to the contributions. So what are the contributions now? Let us see. The contributions of the Mesopotamian civilization. Mesopotamians were the first to adopt the code of laws in the world. Hammurabi was the first ruler to enforce the code of laws. He had prohibited abuse of slaves in his code of law. Who did this? Hammurabi. He was a king for justice. So what did he say? That he had prohibited abuse of slaves. What is abuse of slaves? Like treating the slaves very bad. They were asked not to abuse the slaves or not to trouble them. Mesopotamians had established trade relationships with Harappa and Egyptian civilizations. Each city had a guardian deity. Okay, guardian deity. Last time also I have told you who is a guardian deity. Means that particular god of that particular community. Got it? High-rise temples named ziggurat were built there. So in Egypt, what did you study about the pyramids? Now, the high-rise temples was the speciality of Mesopotamian. What? Mesopotamian civilization. Ziggurat. Ziggurat. What is it called as? Ziggurat. Were built here. Cuneiform script was used by these people, and the great epic of the Mesopotamians was Gilgamesh. What is the name of that Mesopotamian epic? It was Gilgamesh. Okay. This is all you have to remember in Mesopotamian civilization. First thing, what is the meaning of Mesopotamia? Mesopotamia is nothing but a land between the rivers. And who was the famous king there? Hammurabi was the famous king. And he was famous for his code of laws. Okay. And next was another king, Ashurbanipal, who had built a great library in Nineveh. Okay. And another one was famous personality of this Mesopotamian civilization was Nebuchadnezzar, who had constructed or built the hanging gardens, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Okay. And one more important architecture of the Mesopotamian civilization is the ziggurat. What is it? Ziggurat, which are means what is the meaning of ziggurat? Ziggurat means high-rise temples. Okay. So here in your text also you have a picture there, but I don't know whether you are able to see it or not. Okay. This is ziggurat. Then the last thing is Mesopotamians used to be script. They used cuneiform script, and the most important epic of the Mesopotamians is the Gilgamesh epic. Okay. So this was all about Mesopotamian civilization. Okay. Now let's move on to the next civilization. Which is the next civilization? It is about the Chinese civilization. You have to study 6 civilizations, right? So now moving on to the Chinese civilization. So let's see what is given in your text. The country that lies to the east of India is China. Now I think you must be very much aware about China. Now everything in all the news you have China. We are speaking about China all the time. Okay, isn't it?
So there are so many things that we need to know about China, and already we know so many things about China. Okay. So all that we will do when we meet personally, right? We will speak of all those topics. Now let's continue with my Chinese civilization. The yellow complexioned Mongolian tribes are the ancestors of these people. Ancestors means who? They are the Purvajadu. They are the forefathers of them. What was their complexion? It was yellow complexion. Yellow complexion means very fair, very nice color. Mongolian tribes are the ancestors of these people. Yangtze, Sikiang and Tango, yellow rivers, are the prominent rivers of this region. So they are called the cradles of the Chinese civilization. So these rivers are called as cradles of civilization. Why? Because Chinese civilization developed on the banks of the rivers Yangtze, Sikiang and Tango. Initially they ruled from the villages. Gradually they developed foreign trade by growing paddy and silk. So what did later the Chinese started growing? They started growing paddy and silk. Okay, paddy is nothing but bhatta. Akki agokinta ಮೊದಲೇ ಏನು ಪದಾರ್ಥ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಭತ್ತ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, that is called as paddy. Now coming to the political history of China. The first ruling family was the Shang dynasty. It ruled in the period between the 18th century BCE and the 12th century BCE. The prosperity of Shang people depended on agriculture. The Chinese had mastered the craft of producing bronze and porcelain dishes. So what was their art? They started producing bronze and porcelain dishes. Like what you use for having your snacks and food and all. That material is called as porcelain. The Shang dynasty was replaced by Zhou dynasty, which ruled for a longer time. Wu Wang was a famous king of the Zhou dynasty. Who was the famous king here? The famous king of the Chinese civilization was Zhou dynasty. The well-known philosophers Confucius and Lao Tzu lived in this period. Okay, they are the most important philosophers. Still, everyone remembers them. I don't know how much you know about Confucius, but Lao Tzu and Confucius are the great philosophers. Qing dynasty came to power after Zhou dynasty. The name China is derived from Qing dynasty. Okay, see how the Chinese names are there. Qin, Xin, Pin, Tan. It is said that when you throw a vessel or something, whichever noise comes, from that those names are arrived. So Tan, Tin, all such names you will be having as the Chinese names. The word China is derived from the Qing dynasty. Okay. Qi Huangdi, he was a famous king of Qing dynasty. He unified China and brought it under a uniform law. He is called as the first emperor of China. Who is the first emperor? Who is the first emperor, children? Qi Huangdi. Okay, Qi Huangdi. He built a 1500 mile long Great Wall of China. This is also a great sculpture by the Chinese. That is the Great Wall of China. And why did he build that? He built to protect China from the onslaught of enemies, from the attack of enemies. He wanted to protect China from the people, from those who were attacking China. So he built the Great Wall of China. China was ruled by Han dynasty after Qing dynasty. This period is considered as the golden age in China. So which is the golden age here? During the Han dynasty after Qing dynasty. So that time it had a very great time. So that is called as the golden period of China. Now coming to the next king, that is Wu Ti. Who is he? Wu Ti. He was a famous king of Han dynasty who established a vast empire. Vast empire, very big empire. Foreign trade gained
importance under his rule. So what he was doing when he was ruling, foreign trade had greater trade and it was very well flourished during his time. Foreign trade gained importance under his rule. There was a great demand for silk in Rome. As a result, the trade route between China and Rome became famous as the Silk Route. So one of the most important thing you have to remember in Chinese civilization is the Silk Route, okay, which was found by Chinese. Buddhism entered China during this period. So usually you can see many Chinese following the which religion? Buddhism. That was during this Buddhist period. The people of China started following which religion? Buddhism. Art and literature received great patronage during the rule of Han Dynasty. Hence, this period is known as the Golden Age in the Chinese history. So, all this Han Dynasty period is known as the Golden Age. Okay, so it was flourishing, it was prosperous during that. During the rule of Sung Dynasty, which came to power after Han Dynasty, wood printing press and production of porcelain dishes started. The Mongolians ended the rule of Sung Dynasty by conquering Peking, the capital of Sung Dynasty. So, which capital? Peking, they captured, which is present Beijing. Beijing is the capital of China. So, it was previously known as Peking. Now coming to the contributions of Chinese civilization. So every civilization, has given something great. So the important things given by the Chinese civilization are the contribution of the Chinese to the ancient world was remarkable. They introduced tea and silk to the world. In addition to this, the inventions like paper made of bamboo, explosives, painting brush, porcelain and Marillayer's compass goes to the credit of Chinese. So all these things were invented by whom? By the Chinese people. They used pictographic script to write. They used to write on bamboo slips vertically from top to bottom. In your text you have a picture here which shows you about the pictographic script of the Chinese. Okay? They used to write it vertically and straight. Like we usually write it horizontally, right? So the Chinese used to write it vertically. Lao Tzu and Confucius enriched the field of philosophy. The two important philosophers of the Chinese period was none other than Lao Tzu and Confucius. Okay? Lao Tzu taught simple living. So what were his teachings of Lao Tzu? Laotze. T is silent. So what were his teachings? Simple living, sacrifice and harmonious relationship with nature. Means being good to nature. Living with unity with nature. That is being harmonious to nature. Confucius re-established the lost moral and social values in the society. So another great philosopher, Confucius, he brought values in the society. Whatever was lost during the previous route was brought up by Confucius. Okay, so this was all about Chinese civilization. So the main points here you have to remember is Chinese used pictographic script, that is which is written vertically. And China name is derived from the Qing dynasty. Then Buddhi was the famous king who founded the Silk Route, that is from Rome to. Then the capital of China is Beijing. Then what were the contributions? The contributions of Chinese were they gave tea, silk, mariner's compass and porcelain and bronze materials. So all these things were the great contributions of the Chinese. And the great philosophers of the Chinese period were none other than Lao Tzu and Confucius. Okay, so this was all about Chinese civilization. In your next session, let me come up with the next civilization, and this is all about today. Thank you, children.